Anybody have any questions?
I just wanted to let you know that I'm using a borrowed laptop, and the camera doesn't really work on it, so I just
Okay.
wanted to let you know that.
All right. I figured something was going on. It's all right. Okay. Section 12.1 is open-end credit and charge cards. You guys can take the time and read that. Obviously, we'll be able to see our objectives as we go through. All right. Open-end credit has no fixed payments. Customers make payments until balance is paid off. Store charge accounts and charge cards, MasterCard, Visa card. Let me just, have I told you guys this annoyingness about credit card companies yet? So I made a ridiculous credit card payment to the only credit card that I have left. It is through my bank. And even though I paid 10 times the amount, over 10 times the amount of my minimum payment due, they still gave me a $27 late fee because I paid it in the last cycle. So even though I paid them over the amount of money that they wanted, they still charged me a $27 late fee for this month's payment and will not take it off because, that is their right. They can charge me that late charge as many times as they want, even though I overpay them like crazy. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting to the point where I'm just going to pay it off and then never have another one. Whatever. All right, credit limit is the maximum amount that may be charged on the account based on the income, assets, other debts, and credit history. You will see that as you kind of get to the point of being done with credit card companies and you voice that vocally, they will quite often come at you and basically be like, oh, well, I mean, I don't know why you want to quit having this credit card. Would you like us to bounce your limit up? So, sometimes increasing your limit, that can really get people to try and stay. Honestly, if you get fed up with something, you should just be done with it. All right, a debit card, a much smarter invention. A sale paid for with a debit card authorizes the retailer's bank to debit the purchaser's checking account immediately upon receipt. Debit cards do not involve credit since their use results in an immediate debit or withdrawal of funds from an account. So obviously, if you're using a debit card, you cannot, you can't go over the amount that's in your checking or else it will bounce. And that can end up being pretty bad for you guys. Revolving charge accounts are department store accounts or bank card. A customer might make several small purchases during a month. Such accounts are often never paid off, although a minimum amount must be paid each month since new purchases are continually being made. So you don't see these as much anymore. Something like, have you ever seen a TV show or a movie, or maybe even some video games where like you can put it on my tab? And sometimes farmers used to have them. I don't know if they have them anymore, but basically it would be like companies would accept like, oh, I know a great one. If you or anyone in your family is ridiculous like me and likes watching Wicked Tuna, so when the guys go and get the gasoline or they get their bait sometimes, they'll be like, now I can go pay off my tab for whatever. So, like I said, you don't see it as much anymore. But typically what happens is you pay it off when you have the money, and then in the in-between time when you don't, land into some money, then you still get what you need to do your job. But, the the business is basically assuming that you're going to be able to pay it off at some point. All right, revolving charge credit accounts with itemized billing, statements of purchases, payments, refunds, and finance charges made each month. Finance charges, interest charges, time payment differential, or carrying charges, and a grace period time frame for which no interest is charged if paid in full by the end and I guess the end of time. Who knows? I guess when it's due. Late fees assessed for payments received after the due date. I think late fees are just a bunch of junk and should never exist. Over the limit fees charged by the lender when borrower charges more than an approved maximum amount of debt. So for instance, if you have a credit limit of $1,000 and you max your credit card out at 1,000, and then the next month you didn't make a large payment, then you can end up going over your amount because of interest. So you have to watch out for certain things. Use the unpaid balance method, calculates finance charges based on the unpaid balance at the end of the previous month. Purchases or returns during current month are not used. This chapter 12 homework was absurdly easy. You're basically you're almost doing like an account for a checkbook, except that it's for credit cards and bank cards and that kind of thing. It's pretty simple. All right. Peter Brickman's MasterCard account had an unpaid balance of $870.40 on November 1st. During November, he made a payment of $100 and used the credit card purchase to purchase a puppy costing $150 for his son. Find the finance charge and the unpaid balance on December 1st if the bank charges 1.5% per month on the unpaid balance. So a finance charge of 1.5% per month on the unpaid balance would be the $870.40 times the 0.015, so $13.06 for the month. So then you have a new balance, which is the previous balance plus the finance charge plus purchases made minus payments. So he was at $870.40. He has the finance charge added. He adds the puppy and he subtracts the payment. So you're at $933.46. During December, Brickman made a payment of $50, charged $240.56 for Christmas presents, and returned $35.45 worth of items. And he took his family to dinner with charges of $92.45. Find his unpaid balance on January 1st. Let me just tell you guys that this guy is not doing the right thing. I mean, obviously, I know it's just an example so you guys can understand how to use this, but you don't want to pay for dinner on a credit card, and you don't want to pay all of your Christmas presents on a credit card. A credit card really should be there for emergencies, and these are just not emergencies. Sometimes Christmas can be an emergency, but really, if you can't afford to buy Christmas, then you probably should just suck it up and not buy Christmas. Maybe you can make Christmas instead. Families tend to really understand if you can't afford to spend a whole lot on Christmas. All right. So the finance charge calculated on the unpaid balance is $933.46. So if we multiply that by the 1.5%, we get $14. So then we're going to add everything and subtract off the returns and the payments. So now he has a total of $1,195.02. And then the total charge for this 2-month period would be the $1,306 and the 14 together, which is $2,706. Brinkman knows that his debt is increasing. He moves the balance to another charge card that charges only 0.8% per month. Find his savings and finance charges for January. So the old charge card minus the new charge card. So what he did is he literally took all of his debt and put it into a brand new card because the interest was different, which is fine. People do that, but typically they don't have anything on the new card. So then he's saving $8.37 per month, or for that month of January. Okay. Use the average daily balance method. Most revolving charge plans now calculate finance charges using the average daily balance method. The balance owed on the account is found at the end of each day during a month or billing period. All of these amounts are added. The total is divided by the number of days in the month or billing period. The result is the average daily balance of the account. This is used to calculate the finance charge. Okay, here's a second example. Beth Hogan's balance on a Visa card was $209.46 on March 3rd. Her activity for the next 30 days is shown in the table. Find the average daily balance on April 3rd. Given the charges based on 1.5% on the average daily balance, find the finance charge for the month and find the balance owed on April 3rd. Okay, so this table will either be given to you or you might have to fill parts of it in. This CR here, it means credit. Okay. So for one, or for A, there are 31 days in the billing period. Find the average daily balance as follows. So step one, multiply each unpaid balance by the number of days for that balance. Total these amounts, divide the number of days in the particular billing cycle. So you add everything up, and then you're going to divide by 31. So you get $207.50. Hogan will pay a finance charge based on the average daily balance of $207.50. That's unreal. Was this for a regular person? Yeah, it was. You should never do that. That's ridiculous. Find the finance charge. You're gonna take 0.015 times the 207.50. You get 311. Find the amount owed on April 3rd is the beginning unpaid balance less any returns or payments plus new charges and the finance charge. So you take your 209.46 minus 50, you're going to add all of these charges plus the finance charge, so you get 281.35. Okay. Again, like I said, this homework is super easy for chapter 12. It's a little unique for chapter 13. You're doing some stuff that you just haven't worked with before, but it's fine. Define loan consolidation. Consolidate your loans. Combine all of your loans into one with a lower monthly payment, perhaps lower interest and or longer term. Defaulting on your debt. Not making your payments can mean repossession of your automobile or furniture, eviction from your apartment or home, and or court appearance, ruins your credit history, and may make it difficult to borrow money. The other thing that you can face is bankruptcy. And if you go bankrupt, you can't actually work on building your credit again for 7 years. It's either 5 or 7. I think it might depend on the state. But yeah, just kind of crazy. You want to definitely work on not having that as a possibility for yourselves. Bill and Jane Smith were married 2 years ago. Both were happy when they had their first child, but they needed to buy several things on credit. They now have a monthly payment shown below. The Smiths are having difficulties making the payments, and they sometimes argue over money. They bank online at City Direct and ask Jackie Wharton for help. So yeah, wow. So yeah, they owe about 4,000 at Target. Just over 1,500 at Home Depot. They have 3,000 from MasterCard and nearly 5,000 from Visa. Plus, they have 800 in rent. Jane's car is 315 and Bill's truck is 268. Wow. and then their minimum monthly payments, which if they're hitting this minimum monthly, they're not doing anything to that total. Yikes, guys. All right. So Jackie puts the Smiths on a strict monthly budget, consolidates their revolving account debts into one longer-term low-interest loan. That was smart. And decreases one automobile payment by refinancing the loan over a longer term. Here are the new monthly payments. So now Citigroup has basically bought out all of this credit card debt, and now they're only going to pay the $337.50, but they'll pay it for so many years, probably years. Their rent is $800, so that didn't change. They've refinanced Jane's car, so now it's $247.50, and then they left Bill's truck alone. So now their total for the month is $1,653. So they're saving $240 per month. The Smiths should be all right as long as they stay on their monthly budget, do not make additional credit purchases, continue to make all payments. The Smiths may end up with severe debt problems if they borrow more before the existing loan balances are significantly reduced. Borrowing more could force them to have to declare bankruptcy. Okay, which we talked about already. All right, installment loans. Here's your objectives. So an installment loan is a loan that is amortized, which is a loan if both the principal and interest are paid off by a sequence of equal periodic payments. Used for cars, boats, home improvements, and loan consolidation. Also referred to as a Regulation Z. Requires lenders to disclose their finance charge and annual percentage rate on installment loans. Nominal rate or stated rate can differ from the APR, which is based on actual amount received by the borrower. Installment cost includes the down payment and all subsequent payments. Finance charge includes interest and any fees charged by the lender. Find the total installment cost, finance charge, and amount financed. So total installment cost is the down payment plus the payment amounts times the number of payments. Finance charge is the total installment cost, so what you just found above minus the cash price, and amount finance is the cash price minus the down payment. These are pretty fairly straightforward and simple. So you'll have to do this for your homework, but like I said, it's pretty easy. All right, so Frank recently received his master's degree and began work at a large community college as a music professor specializing in classical guitar. He purchased an exquisite sounding classical guitar costing $3,800 with $500 down and 36-month payments of $109.61. Find the total installment, the finance charge, and the amount financed. So the total installment is going to be the $500 times the $109.61 times 36. So he's going to end up paying almost $4,500 for this guitar. The installment cost minus the cash price is going to be a charge of $645.96, and the amount financed is $3,300. Honestly, if you're going to get a finance charge of over $500, I would probably just try to save my money and pay it off all at once. That's a lot of money to pay for a guitar, in addition to what you're already paying for the guitar. It's a lot. All right, available. Stafford loan is available to students in college. Subsidized government pays the interest while student is at least half time. Unsubsidized student pays the interest. Repayment begins 6 months after the student is no longer at least half time. With you guys being at a community college, I won't lie to you. You probably should not, if you can help it, you should not do student loans. You can take, as little as one class at a time, and that's going to help you with your payments. Getting a student loan at this point, you might as well just go to a regular, 4-year degree, and then you're paying out way more money per credit. You guys are the smart ones. You're getting just as powerful of an education, but you're not paying nearly as much, and you can kind of pay it all out of pocket if you go a little bit at a time. So, I mean, more power to you guys. Fantastic. Use the formula for approximate APR. The approximate annual percentage rate for a loan paid off in monthly payments can be found by the following formula. 24 times the finance charge divided by the amount financed times 1 plus the total number of payments. I don't know why the 1 is there. I don't know why they do that one extra thing all the time. I've yet to figure that part out in terms of the math behind it, but we just got to do it. All right, so here's what we're given. Florent Z decides to buy a used car for $6,400. Makes a down payment of $1,200 and a monthly payments of $169 for 36 months. Find the approximate annual APR rounded to the nearest 0.1%. So first they find the total installment. Then they find the finance charge. Let me know. Somebody let me know if I need to pause longer. You can always come back and take notes. Okay. And then the amount financed would be what? The total that the car is minus the down payment. Okay, so then you're going to take the finance charge and multiply it by 24 and then divide it by the amount financed plus or times 37. So you get 11% as your APR there. All right, use the table to find APR. Finding the APR, step 1, multiply the finance charge by $100 and divide the amount by the amount financed. The result is the finance charge per $100 of the amount financed. This is a lot easier when you just work with the table. All right, step 2, read down the column and either go right or left to figure out your payments. So let's look at an example. In the previous example, we were dealing with the car. So first multiply by 100 and divide by the amount financed. So this gives us the finance charge per $100 financed. So then if you look at the table, the closest thing is 1701. So it's 10.5%. 10.5% is pretty close to 11%. Okay. So technically this is saying 10.5% is the annual percentage rate that must be disclosed to the buyer of the car. In the previous example, the formula for the approximate APR gave an answer of 11%, which is not accurate enough to meet the requirements of the law. So 10.5% is what they would have had to disclose to you at the time of buying it. All right. 2 brothers from Italy Pizza borrowed $48,000 to remodel their store. They agreed to a note with payments of $1,565.78 per month for 36 months. Find the annual percentage rate. So you're going to do the same thing. 0 down plus the total times 36 months. Finance charge is what you just found minus the total they were going to have to pay. So here the finance charge is over $8,000, and then the amount financed was $48,000. If you use the formula, you take the finance charge times 100 divided by the amount that you needed. So that'd be 1743. And when you look that up in the table, you get 10 and 75% APR. All right. Again, you'll understand that a little bit more when you do. All right. Early payoff and loans. There's your objectives. Okay. So the United States rule for early payment, make sure you pay attention for the homework on this. It will say use the US rule versus something else. So make sure you're paying attention to that. All right. Common for a payment to be made on a loan before it is due. Refinance a debt to a lower rate. Rule used by the US government in most states and financial institutions. Payment first applied to any interest owed. Balance is used to reduce the principal. So here's something that you guys kind of want to all pay attention to. At the moment, I'm assuming you don't have a car payment, or you may have already paid off your car, or you may have the car that you drove in high school, so that doesn't have a payment. When you go to buy your next car, if you want to pay your car off quicker, you have got to send basically a separate check. And when you send that separate check into the bank, you have to write on there somehow, basically to be applied to the principal only. Because if you just send them a bigger check, they are going to constantly go towards that interest until you've paid off all the interest. You want to really get that principal down. So you want to make sure that any extra payment you make is going towards that principal. All right. Using the US rule, find the simple interest due from the date the loan was made until the date the partial payment is made. Okay, and then we're going to use our good old interest formula. Subtract this interest from the amount of the payment. Any difference is used to reduce the principal. Treat additional payments in the same way, always finding the interest on any unpaid balance after the last partial payment. The remaining principal plus interest is paid on this unpaid principal is then due by the due date of the loan. Okay. If the partial payment is not large enough to pay the interest due, the payment is simply held until enough money is available to pay the interest. This type of partial payment offers no advantage to the borrower. All right, so let's look at this example. On August 14th, Dr. Jane Ficker signed a 180-day note for $28,500 for an X-ray machine for her dental office. The note has an interest rate of 8% compounded annually. On October 25th, a payment of $8,500 is made. Find the balance owed on the principal after the payment. If no additional payments are made, find the amount due at the maturity of the loan. So step one, we're going to find the interest rate. August 14th to August 25th. I guess for you guys, that would be step one. If they didn't give you the days, you would have to figure it out. Okay. So we take interest, the 28,500 times the 0.08 times the 72 over 360, get 456. So you subtract the payment minus the interest, and then you're going to subtract the how much is applied to the principal. So you have $20,456 left. So then you have 108 days remaining. The interest left would be $490.94. So if you subtract that off, due at maturity would be $19,965.06. Right? Like I said, the homework is not hard. I haven't done exam 3 yet, but if you've been keeping up with your material, you should definitely be fine with everything. All right. On March 1st, Boston Dairy signs a promissory note for $38,500 to replace milking equipment for their Holsteins. I believe that's a type of cow. The note is for 180 days at a rate of 10%. The dairy makes the following partial payments: $6,000 on June 9th and $3,500 on July 11th. Find the interest paid on the note and the amount due on the due date of the note. Okay, so first partial payment is June 9th or 100 days. So then you have to figure that part out. So the first payment, portion going to interest, portion going to reduce the debt. Debt on June 1st after first partial payment. So you're still looking at owing $33,569.44. The second payment is 32 days later. So then you have to figure out that interest. And then they still have a debt of $30,367.84. So then the due date of the promissory note would be 48 days later. They have to figure out the interest. So the amount due at maturity is $30,772.74. Okay. I would recommend, if you're having trouble, that you go ahead and you stay organized. Oops, sorry. So writing a table like this might be helpful. They may bring it up and have it as part of your homework, so that's a possibility. But if it helps you stay organized, I would go ahead and do it. All right. Use the rule of 78 when prepaying the loan. Rule of 78 allows a lender to earn more money of the finance charge during the early months of the loan compared to the U.S. rule. Lenders typically use this rule to protect against early payoffs on small loans. Effectively, the lender will earn a higher rate of interest in the event of an early payoff. So based on the loan of 12 months, the sum of the months, 78, finance charge, first month is 12 out of 78, second month is 11 out of 78, and so on. Total finance charge on an installment loan is calculated when the loan is first made. Early payoff of a loan results in a lower finance charge, and portion of the finance charge that has not yet been earned by the lender under the rule of 78 is called unearned interest or refund. Finding the unearned interest, don't let this formula scare you. Literally, just, you know all of the pieces, so you just plug it in, okay? Unearned interest is the U, number of payments remaining is the N, finance charge is the F, and original number of payments is the P. All right. I didn't make up the letters, but that's how we have to use it. All right. Aaron Ortega borrows $6,000, which he is paying back in 24 monthly payments of $295 each. With 9 payments remaining, he decides to repay the loan in full. Find the amount of unearned interest and the amount necessary to repay the loan in full. Use the rule of 78. So first you have to find the total number of payments. So you take 24 times the 295, which is 7,080. And then you take find the finance charge, so that's 1,080. The number of payments is 24. The loan is paid off with 9 payments left. Find the unearned interest. So we have to take this 1,080 times 9 over 24 times 1 plus 9 over 1 plus 24. And when you do all that math, it ends up being $162 of unearned interest. So it definitely helps if you pay things off early. I can't stress that enough, but you might not be, saving as much money as you initially would hope. When Ortega decides to pay the loan off, he has 9 payments of $295 left. Sum of remaining payments is $2,655. So you also save that, kind of. He saves unearned interest of 162, and amount needed to repay the loan in full is going to be $2,493. The Smiths borrow $1,200 for a new washer and dryer and agree to make 18 monthly payments of $74.30 each. After the 10th payment, they pay the loan off in full. Find the amount of unearned interest and the amount needed to repay the loan in full using the rule of 78. So sum of payments is 18 payments times 74.30, which is equal to 1,337.40. You have to find the finance charge, so that's $100.37.40. 18 minus 10 would be 8 payments remaining. You can see here how they just plugged everything in, and they get a total of unearned interest as $28.93. The amount needed to pay the loan in full is the sum of remaining payments less the unearned interest. So you figure out 8 payments of $74.30, and you subtract off the unearned interest. So the amount needed to repay the loan in full would be $565.47. All right.